Mr. Mario, everyone's favorite iconic video game character, has not only been in the gaming industry since, well, the concept of a gaming industry, has also seen a number of video game side arcs outside of his staple franchise, ranging from being a typing tutor for some of you whose knees aren't what they used to be, to the Raving Rabbids having much more reliable aim than your typical XCOM soldier. Among his many iterations, one of the most notable comes from a certain developer whose works in the RPG genre have had a long-lasting influence in the gaming market, and for them to have their own take on the Mario franchise led to one of gaming's most memorable experiences back in the mid-90s. Super Mario RPG, the very first Mario-based RPG, I'm pretty sure, saw Mario and the gang take on a much more Final Fantasy approach to their gameplay, utilizing turn-based battle tactics and progression as the basis for their grand adventure to save the Mushroom Kingdom, but still maintained many core elements that distinguishes it as a Mario game through and through. A significant change-up from the normal gameplay loop, minus the third-party publishing deals that Mario made back in the day, Super Mario RPG was a beloved title for a lot of players, thanks to its turn-based battle system that managed to implement well into the Mario franchise, as well as providing a charmingly whimsical world full of characters for you to see. Mallow is officially my best boy. So well beloved that it did in fact get the remake treatment for fans to enjoy. Although I never got to play it back in the day, and only got to view it thanks to my cousins playing it, I always wish I could have taken the plunge to experience Mario's first RPG. So, after 30 years, how well does Super Mario RPG hold up after all this time? Taking place in the Mushroom Kingdom, Princess Toadstool, as she was called back in ye olden days, is kidnapped by Bowser, and it's up to Mario to save the day. Just the usual Tuesday in the Mushroom Kingdom. But thanks to Mario memorizing the world skip locations, he goes directly to Bowser's castle and drops his booty like a bag of rocks.
So long, Bowser!
But before Mario could clock in his daily Bowser beating, a giant sword with a face falls from the sky and embeds itself in the castle, separating all three characters and preventing anyone from going near it. After a bit of adventuring, which involves meeting the adorable crybaby quote-unquote frog boy Mallow, and meeting the other fan favorite who couldn't quite make it to the Smash roster, Geno, Mario learns that the Smithy Gang are responsible for invading the Mushroom Kingdom and destroying the Star Road, a magical location that is normally capable of making wishes come true. But now it can't. Not letting such a fate befall the Mushroom Kingdom and beyond, Mario sets off to defeat the Smithy Gang and return the 7 stars to their rightful place. A story that is really befitting of the Mario franchise when it comes to its titular protagonist saving the day. Even though it's not Bowser this time around that he's trying to save Princess Peach from, Mario seems right at home when it comes to saving the Mushroom Kingdom. For its time, this might have been Mario's most grand adventure by comparison to the other games before it. Grand in the sense that the stakes are higher than the importance of any one individual in the Mushroom Kingdom. I mean, it's so important that Princess Peach and the Koopa King actually help Mario this time around. It is very simple though. Retrieve the 7 stars, and restore order to the world. A prime example of the hero's journey placed in Mario form without anything complicated whatsoever. Sure, there's the argument that the plot points aren't the most deeply written or complex in terms of writing, but it really doesn't need to be, and expecting any more from a Mario game feels kinda wrong. The RPG journey was and still is as fun and whimsical as any Mario game and then some. The characters are playful, cheery, and despite what's at stake, the sense of fun and wonder are never lost. In fact, despite this actually being my first experience with Super Mario RPG, this has to be one of the funniest and most wholesome Mario games I've come across. Some of the wittiness, especially with how Mario can't talk and is only capable of miming and imitating other characters, makes for some of my favorite moments in video games. Plus the other characters, obviously. Bowser being a literal tsundere with helping Mario, Peach being adorable and sneaking away from the castle to help the gang, the new inclusions like cool as heck Gino, adorably funny Mallow, extras like Booster, Johnny, the Smithy gang, Valentina, whose bosom is the biggest I've ever seen in any Mario game, are all what makes this title so charming. It's been a while since I've played the more recent ones, but I do vaguely remember some of these elements in the Paper Mario series, which I know is a spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG. But it's just amazing to me how, despite being the oldest Mario RPG game, it was one of the most lightheartedly fun Mario games I've experienced, to the point that I was actually sad to see it end. Considering that this is a game developed by the one and only Square before Square Enix, it's fair to say that Super Mario RPG really is Mario meets Final Fantasy. Turn-based tactics, along with RPG progression elements, are what make up the bulk of the gameplay, plus some light platforming that still keeps it feeling like a Mario game. And I quite enjoyed it. A lot of the core elements that make up most turn-based RPG games can be found here. You get to have a party of unique characters, manage abilities during combat, level up as you progress, and run through the overworld encountering different parts of the story. Very traditional as far as RPG mechanics go. With regards to the overworld, what I found most enjoyable about traversing it was the pacing. Everything feels noticeably faster when it comes to either encountering the enemies as well as just going from level to level. Plus, the linearity of Super Mario RPG makes it more apparent, and compared to similar RPG games in the same vein, there's really not that much to explore. But I also think this is what makes it really fun. I've come to love the nature of how small the maps are and how fast the encounters occur. This may just be a result of older hardware condensing a lot of the assets into smaller maps, but I also think it fits the pacing of how a Mario game should feel. I would say the near majority of his platforming games tends to be on the faster side of gameplay, though that is relative to what fast means for you. I feel like they managed to nail that specific pace of his games, but in RPG form. It also feels pretty fun to move around. I think out of all the RPG style games that I've played that involve some sense of overworld movement, Super Mario RPG feels like the snappiest and most responsive one of all. I also love that besides simply moving around the world, Square also included a variety of mini games for you to go through. They feel a bit random at times, but I genuinely enjoyed them since they made for some fun breaking points from the normal gameplay loop. Though, my god, trying to get a high score on some of them is really tough.
Nope.
Also, being able to choose when to engage with monsters is a nice change of pace from the older style random encounters. I think most modern RPG games don't really use it anymore, and Undertale kind of being the only game in recent memory that still kept it, but I want to say Super Mario RPG might be the first of the genre type to actually break away from that formula. Don't quote me on that though, since my knowledge of RPG games prior to Super Mario is a bit limited. I did enjoy the platforming for the most part, since, well, Mario being the Jumpman, but some sections just feel a little difficult to space because of the 2.5D environment. Can't really hate it at all though, because the punishment is just a reset position. As for the combat and RPG elements, straightforward but just slightly complex are the best words to describe it. Each character can attack, use magic, use items, defend, and run away if need be. When it comes to choosing tactics, there's enough gameplay factors that will pressure you to make careful decisions. Things like character stats, enemy weaknesses, or resource management add a certain level of complexity that you can't just get through the game using only the regular attacks but not so complicated that you have to overly min-max your way to victory. In fact, even the magic resource is simplified to a single shared pool, so party management is arguably easier in this game. Towards the end though, I did need to manage my party accordingly in order to defeat the final bosses, and I did enjoy the difficulty curve. Though some boss attack combinations feel a bit cheap. But nothing good party management couldn't handle in the end. I think the one complementary system that I really enjoyed was the time button presses on most attacks and spells, where if you press it right, you get the enhanced version. I've seen it in a few RPG games before, like Clair Obscur, and I believe Sea of Stars implements a similar mechanic from what I've heard, but Super Mario RPG made me realize how fun a mechanic like this can be. I think it adds a challenge for the player to overcome, and they get to be rewarded for doing it right. Plus, I like that you're not completely putting your brain on auto turn-based mode, since you also have to be aware of when to time the button press. I think my only real complaint is just how old a lot of the quality of life systems are. Not being able to view ability or item descriptions during combat, having to swap members into the current party to use their abilities in the menu. There's a lot of things you have to memorize and work around to make up for the older design. Honestly, it didn't hamper my game too much in any way, other than sometimes making me hesitant on using an item because I had forgotten what they do. From what I've seen, the remake version looks like it fixes a lot of these issues and then some. But I did very much enjoy it, and the combat system plus the adventuring still managed to scratch that tactics itch where I could utilize my party the way I wanted. Not the most complex, but the simplicity of it is what I appreciated most of all. Plus, it just fits the scope of what a Mario game should be, both thematically and mechanically. Fun that everyone can enjoy, and I still found it pretty enjoyable today. Hailing from the SNES era, Super Mario RPG is obviously old as heck, and graphical capabilities are extremely potato-y. In fact, Mario kind of looks like a potato. Yahoo! If you are looking at it through modern eyes, it's not going to be great, but I at least found the older presentation charming in some way. The art style is very much in between that pixel and 3D polygonal era, something that I think Donkey Kong Country tends to have that distinct look most of all, and the characters sometimes look like they border on claymation. But the most charming thing about it is the fact that it is unmistakably a Mario game. Everything about the world is brimming with fun, joyful designs that make it such a cheerful game. The tiny chain chomps holding on to the chandeliers, the toad citizens that live around the world, even the clouds on Nimbus Land having a face that's pretty friggin' adorable.
Just look at these goofy guys.
It's cheery, silly, and yes, it's old, but it's such a whimsically fun world to go through that I can't help but smile. But sound is easily the best part about the presentation. Effects-wise, again, it's unmistakably a Mario game with all of its delightfully punchy and cartoony effects. But the music is easily the biggest star, get it, of the show. Upbeat, cheerful, and dreary when it needs to be, easily puts Super Mario RPG among the many other Mario games that have always made for great OSTs. Also, not gonna lie, possibly the catchiest boss battle music of all time. I particularly like Yoko Shimomura's work here, the composer who is also known for the Kingdom Hearts OSTs, for actually adding some grand and soft kaleidoscopic tones to the game. They complement pretty much every scene, and the ending is so heartfelt that I was actually pretty moved. A very Mario game presented through and through. Even if the graphics look a bit potato-y, and it's starting to border on the vintage side, the aesthetic of being a Mario game in both look and sound isn't lost despite the 30-year-old age. After finally getting the chance to play Super Mario RPG for the first time in forever, I really enjoyed it, and genuinely wished I played this game a lot earlier. It's quite old, yes, older than your kids for sure, but I couldn't help but enjoy how well it still played. The simplicity in the turn-based RPG aspects, the hybrid Mario movement in the overworld, and its charming presentation still made it very enjoyable for me to play. Everything that I expected from a blending of an RPG game in the Mario universe, especially since this is the first. I do think the actual logistics of trying to play the original might be a bit difficult for the average person, depending on how tech-savvy you are, or until it maybe comes out on the classic SNES library on the Switch, and I honestly think the best way to play it today might be the remake. Based on what I've seen and reviews that I've read on the game, it's more or less a faithful adaptation along with some much-needed modern furnishings to let you play it well today. I can't really give my opinion on it since I haven't played it yet. But speaking on the original alone, it was such a joy to play, and I can finally see why it's one of the more beloved classic titles outside of the mainline Mario games. I cannot wait to play it again on the remake when that itch finally comes back, because its original design holds up very well. But that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around. There will be more games to play and more videos coming soon, so please stay tuned if you'd like to see more. But for now, I'll see you all next time.